You're very welcome to the Salvation Show. We're just back after Christmas. We've been away with myself, Paddy Mac. We have Sean McEnany here. And we have a new guest with us tonight. Is Mr. Joe Duffy from Dundalk FM.
I thought this was a Salvation Army.
No, a Salvation Show. But Alvaro's not with us tonight. As you know, Alvaro is a well-known actor. And he is doing a documentary on bats. Well, I think they're putting the camera into a cave anyway. So we were talking.
No, he's just not well.
He's when he's nothing. Now he's piles.
Yeah, we knew him when he'd nothing. Now he's piles. But anyway, you're all very welcome. As I said, this is a show about we take up any topic. And I think the first thing we'll take up it. Joe, do you believe in faith healers?
No.
You don't?
No.
Why?
I don't. Why? Now that's a good question. Why? Because I know a lot of people went to them and nothing happened. Now, but wait, come back again. I'm going to tell you something else. When I was a kid at school, right, I got an accident happening at home with a teapot of tea with my mother. I had a little dog and knocked the teapot out of my mother's hand and went down my whole leg and I was scalded. I was about 6 years old, just at school. And then
all over your khaki trousers.
Yeah, I mean, she destroyed me. Destroyed me shorts. But anyhow, I was off for about 6 weeks, and the blister was massive. It wouldn't go down, you know. So, this old lady lived down the road from me. Her name was Mrs. Moore. She lived in a small little house. I remember her well. And we used to go down and we used to clean and sweep around the place, and as kids do things.
Oh, yeah, help out, Bob.
But anyhow, she came up anyhow, and she gave me tuppence and come kind of a sweet. And the next day, I went down, I was rubbing the skin off the thing. It just went completely dry.
Isn't that'd be old wives' tales?
Well, it's not always, it's a fact. It happened to me, and I know that.
Sean, what about you, faith healers?
No, I haven't. I don't believe in them because of the time I was walking around John McAllister's pigsty with a halter around my neck 3 or 4 times backways for the cure for mumps.
Yeah, but they are old wives' tales. But I mean these.
No,
these
Paddy.
guys,
No, and I don't believe in them. No.
Well,
no.
there was a guy called, I'm sure you all remember, Finbar Nolan. You remember him?
I do.
And he done an album. But I know that as time passed, there is a lot of faith healers. But I remember Finbar Nolan going to a very, very quiet village somewhere in Cork or something, and he, of course, needed a few bob or needed to get his name up. And he was in the village, just on the stage with, do you know, one of the old petitions that you have in the hospital? One of them behind him. Yes. And what he said to the crowd was, is there anybody in the audience that has suffered with some sort of illness or whatever it is to come up? And this guy came up really, really fast up onto the stage, and he says, what's your name? He says, Michael. He says, Michael, Yen. He says, Michael, what is your problem? He says, well, I've this awful thing I've talked through my nose. He says, he says, and when did that happen to you, Michael? He says, we were playing a game of football in Gaelic, and I went up for a ball, he says, with another fella, and he elbowed me in the nose. And he says, that was 20 years ago, and I haven't smoked right then. He says, okay, and do you believe in healing? I do, Finbar, I do. He said, well, go behind the petition. And he went behind it. He says, I need someone else to come up as well. And this guy came up dragging his legs with crutches. And he got up onto the stage. He says, what's your name? He says, Seamus. Seamus, what happened to you? He says, well, it's a coincidence that you have Michael up. He says, I was the guy who went up with him. I did elbow him on the nose, but when I went down, my 2 legs hit the ground. I haven't been able to walk since. He says, that's 20 years ago. He says, yeah. He says, and do you believe in the fate of healing? He said, I do. Well, go behind with Michael. So that was it, 2 to behind. The people in the audience knew these 2 guys for 20 years were never right. So he says, Seamus, throw out your crutches. And the crutches come out on the stage, and the gasp of the crowd were, oh my God, never been without them. He says, now take out. Michael, say something. He said, Seamus is after falling on his mountain nose. Anyway, that's us about faith healing. Now, if there is anything that you want, any topics you want to take up.
But you know something, that he made a lot of money.
He did. A lot of people made it.
There was no admission fee. It was up to yourself to donate whatever you want. You put in a wee envelope and you just left in a wee basket there.
Yeah, and there's this guy in America. I don't know who he is. I can't think of his name. He's got these bright blue eyes, and he was shouting at the camera, "COVID, go away!" And he said to the camera, "It'll be gone tomorrow." 2 years we were stuck in.
You know Roy Chubby Byrne?
I do.
Well, Chubby was doing a show, and he came out onto the stage, and he was a great friend of, remember Noel Markey?
No, yeah.
Noel, that's how I got to know him over in Southport. But Chubby came out onto the ground, and he says, "Any of you girls down there, any trouble with the old waterworks down below, you know?" And because he says, "If you do," he says, "I'm no gynecologist, but I'd have a bloody good fucking look at it."
Anyway, as I say, if there was any topics that you wanted us to cover, like lots of things. We usually talk about years ago in Dundalk. Do you remember this pub, Joe?
Yeah.
The original pub.
Played here, Paddy.
Yeah, what was the name of the original pub?
The Woodwind.
No, even before that.
Was it the Tower? No.
I think I know what it was.
Right.
Well,
Shakespeare.
The Shakespeare. I remember playing. Remember playing here in the Shakespeare. But then, as you look round this place, just to let people know, we're in the Viper Room on Park Street. It was called the Fane, it was called the Woodwind, and it was called the Shakespeare. But when we were in it, you used to go down that hallway.
Right, we enter,
into the lounge, which was away down the back.
This was the bar end of it, yeah.
This was just where the cameraman's sitting is the bar, and the rest was the lounge, and it was fantastic. But it's still going very, very well. Of a Saturday night, great musician here of a Saturday night, Joe.
That was when what Mickey Clark had it for the chicken in the basket and all that. Remember that?
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
That was the Tower. Mickey Clark had.
That was the Tower. Was that the Tower?
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. Wasn't the same. No.
And then I remember playing.
I tell you who was a manager in this place was wee Seamus.
Yeah.
He was like Ronnie Corbett.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I know he was taller. I thought.
Yes,
I thought he was taller.
Yeah.
I remember playing in Paddy Hand's pub, which is just up the road, and playing on a New Year's Eve when the guys that owned the Rum House, when they bought it first, and there was about 1,000 people in one square. It was unbelievable. Those were the days. It was good, but things have changed, Joe. Like, do you remember anything about the 60s and 70s growing up as a teenager?
Growing up as a teenager?
Yeah, in the 60s and 70s.
We were playing in bands 6 or 7 nights a week then.
But apart from playing in bands, what was your entertainment like apart from?
Well, there'd be the old dances at Derry Hill, the Duffy, Black Rock, over here the Skylawn Ballroom.
Oh yeah, that's
remember
right.
that, and the African Club, and you'd have, of course, all the picture houses were going then, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. All filming.
No, I didn't ask you about your life. I mind about. Sean, what do you remember about growing up in the 60s and 70s?
In the 60s and 70s.
Apart from that, you were a great sportsman.
Well, that was number one with me because you were playing football and you were playing hurling, you were away every Sunday. If you weren't playing football, you were playing hurling. You were playing hurling, you were probably down the country and playing for loud. But that was the highlight of my growing up. And then you meet the women and that, and it turns your head away. But you know what I mean, Joe? You just have to carry on.
You're straight. You're not straight. I'm still straight.
Well, I remember the Adelphi. That was the number one venue for dancing in the town that time, and great, and even Sunday afternoon you get great bands from Dublin.
But you know when you're going down by the Adelphi, the trees there, and the boys be standing, any odds, you know.
And there was no bar in it.
I didn't think you'd notice me.
There was no bar. It was just a mineral bar.
A mineral bar or a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you go up. Do you fancy getting up for a mineral? But a lot of other things. I'm sure you all I don't remember, and there's plenty of photographs. Sunday afternoon in the town hall dance. Yeah. No, I don't remember that. I was too.
No, I don't remember. No, but I remember. The first hop was in town hall, and it was the time that the Russians were going to invade Cuba.
Right.
And I was thinking it was a kind of a pioneer social or something, but it was packed anyway. I remember getting a new pair of suede shoes. That's all I do remember. But then it was run by the parochial, the priest of the town, you know, and Father Donnelly came on stage and he says, "By the way, just to let you know that the missile ships have turned back." And that's what I remember about that.
That's a terror, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, there you.
Everybody was scared that time because it was very close
There was
to
a
it,
lot
you know.
of people. A lot of people scared of, the church and all that because of where. But I remember a story just when you mentioned Father Donnelly about when he came to.
He was a
Dundalk.
bully boy, that
Yeah, but when he came to Dundalk first, he was around the parishioners and saying, "I'm Father Donnelly here and all." But I remember he called to a house. I won't mention any names. Called to a house in.
Oh, yeah, that would be an Annie's. No,
No, he didn't call ours. We take him into the parlour. But he called at his house and he just said that he was a new priest in the area and that he was looking for donations for a Honda 50 to go around, be able to get around everybody. And this woman says, "Oh, Father, I wouldn't be able to give you a donation." And he said, "But what about the money in the mantelpiece?" And she said to him, "But Father, that's to get me hair done." And he said to her then, "Our lady never got her hair done." And then the husband came in and says, "And Jesus never went round in a fucking Honda." So,
But when you think about the control they had, I know your man done good for you out in Father Johnson. He done great work. He got you guys playing hurling and everything else, and he created a great community spirit out there, which is still going strong. But the rule, the roost. I remember there was a dance hall, and I wasn't at it, but a neighbour of mine was at it, and Talonstown, and where was the other place? Down the road from it. It'll come to me now in a minute. And there was a dance there every Sunday night, and the priest used to get on the bus, and the curtain couples, he'd be running them out, putting them off the bus. And he went round the dance, during the dance, when they'd be dancing slow, he'd be pushing them about. Like, he was obviously getting a hard on, for fuck's sake, you know.
Joe, hold that up.
He was getting a fucking hard on.
If you think about it, if we knew then what we know now, we should have let him part us and we could have been single.
I know, but
Well, I can tell you a story about the priests during Lent. When my father had the dance band that time, Paddy, I think your father and your Uncle James and Paddy were
Merry
all...
Max, the Merry Max.
Yeah, the Merry Max. That's exactly what it is, Joe, yeah. So, with no dancing in Dundalk because of the... But there was plenty of dancing in the north. So my father was just... he was earning money playing on the band, whatever gigs he could get. But he decided one night that he was going to book the hall down in Glasdrummin, just across the border.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But Tommy Quinn, the taxi crowd, Tommy played the saxophone. Tommy had the taxis. So my father said, "Look," he says, I'm gonna chance this." So whatever money he got, whatever job he was doing, he's in the building that time. He collected money, saved it for a few weeks, and he had enough money to pay the band. If there was nobody in the hall, he was at a loss, right? So the boys in there in the taxi and got set up and everything, and my Uncle James was doing the door. And he said, about an hour or two, "Paddy, there's nobody in here, there's nobody outside." And "How many's out there?" He said, "Well, they're starting to get a bit of a crowd now, you know. But I think it was a half a crown in or something like that, whatever it was." He says, "Well, they want in for 2 shillings." My father said, "Let them in." Well, he fucking packed the place that night, packed it, and he had enough money to pay the band again, and go over to England to buy a brand new. I think it was one of them for a piece of organs.
Lovely, yeah.
Not incredible.
The priests were they were organising. They were at the hall.
Yeah.
They got money out of it as well, you know. So.
Yeah. But it's amazing. I remember I was about 12 or 13, and Stone Town Hall, you'd know what that is, Chris. Stone Town Hall, and myself and 3 or 4 other fellas. And all we had was a noodle protection amp and one wee speaker. And all we had on the back of a milk lorry. It was summertime.
The milk float.
The milk float. And the milk float was...
Like you left the day before the gig.
Do you remember McBride's had a milk place down in Castlin Road? They're a milk float. And we were on the back of it, and we're heading off to the gig, you know. And I don't know, Sean said it could have been 2 shillings or whatever it was in. But I was doing a head count to see how many was in. But I always remember the guy, the man that was in charge of the hall. This is a long time ago. And he says, we done, if I had a hammer, I'd say about fucking I'd say about 5 or 6 times at least, during the night. And your man comes up and he said, if I had a fucking hammer, he said, I put it through your fucking brain, he fucking lost the head, If I had a hammer, if I had a fucking, I'll tell you one thing.
Paddy, tell the one about Shamey. You said it last week there. And he called your house play and you had no transport, only a...
Oh yeah, this actually happened. This happened. I was way back at the start. I remember 2 things. First of all, my father, as I said, my father and Sean's father were brothers and musicians, and they were a very musical family. Like our mothers were on the fiddle and the father was on the harp. But I remember one time that I was asked to play with an accordion player from Dundalk, and I only knew with 3 chords. Mm. And your man picked me up, and I went down to Drummond-T. Do you remember the 3 steps?
Yeah.
I knew a few girls from Drummond-T at the Duffy, and I told them, you couldn't text them, and then I met them. I said, I'm playing next Friday night in the 3 steps, and they're all there. And at the time, the big hit was Moon Shadow, Cat Stevens.
Cat Stevens, yeah.
And I was singing it, and she said, one of the girls said, when you sing Moon Shadow, your man was playing waltzes and everything on the accordion. And I started singing Moon Shadow. But on the way back home, he says, I just want to let you know, he says, any of that new pop stuff, he says, you'll not be playing in this band. There was only 2 of us, like. But there was another time that I was just after learning the guitar. I was after buying a small amplifier, and I had a guitar. And people that know Shamey McKenna, Shamey. Shamey was doing a stint in Uncle Tom's in Blackrock, and he says to me, any chance of standing in with me tonight? I said, jeez, it'd be great. He says, Grant, I'll pick you up at 8 o'clock. I said, lovely. Had the amplifier ready in the hall. And
your hair done was all your hair.
And the hair was hair down my back. Now it's on me back. But had no guitar case, just the guitar and the amplifier. And I'm waiting for Shamey. And then he went, me mother said, there's someone out there, won't you? And I went out, and there's Shamey on the Honda 50. And I says, are you picking me up to go down to the car? He says, no, this is the transport. This is no joking. And I was sitting on the back with the guitar and the amplifier in the other hand, going to Blackrock. And it was freezing. The hair was back here. The snots were around my face. The tears in my eyes. And we got to Blackrock. I walked, and I think I turned around. I think I hit someone with my hair. I'll never forget.
Do you remember the Volkswagen?
Oh, I remember Joe's Volkswagen.
You know the Volkswagen Beetle?
Yeah.
Myself and Paddy, we used to do a regular spot in the Uncle Tom's in Blackrock. But whatever happened, we had to take this Volkswagen Beetle. Now we had bins and fucking...
These are sound bins.
Big bins. PA, stands, the whole lot, his guitar and amp. And he's laying on his belly on top of the fucking...
on the back. But you know what the laugh was? When Joe was driving, the accelerator, the rubber tab was off, but it was only a stick.
Yeah.
And it was a wet night.
You were slipping up.
You'd be lying in the back, and Joe's flying up the road, and he missed, and all of a sudden you're in the front. You're all right, I'm grand. And then he says to me, you be grand in there, don't be worrying, just keep your head down. I don't want a choice.
But you remember... in the wagon, I don't know where you got this stuff. You had a client. I won't mention names.
Don't mention.
No. And we got it could be vodka, it could be whiskey, it could be anything.
Oh.
And I'd be driving along the transit.
Oh yeah.
Flying along the road, and he'd be passing over the bottom.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
How many times did that happen all over the country? Like
jeez, it was unbelievable. So we were playing one night in Castlebellingham, and I can still remember the year. It was 1979. And we were heading up to Castlebellingham. We were the only ones on the left-hand side of the road. There was traffic coming because the Pope was out to be in Drogheda.
We thought it was a great idea.
And we thought we couldn't get across the road. We were standing there with gear and everything. Saying, "Will you stop? I'll fucking stop you." And we were trying to get across the road. And I remember you saying that night, we didn't think at the time. Says, I wonder what's on. I said, it must be shite. They're all coming back. But, oh, Jesus, they were great days.
Yeah.
great day. You know, like people don't realize in the band business years ago, there was nothing else. There was no iPods. There was
nothing.
You went to see a band,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember playing one night in Mayo with a band, and the relief band didn't turn up, and two of us combed the hair a different way, went out in front, and the drummer and played, and we were the relief band. And then when we went back on with the other band, the hair
Nobody
was
cop
off.
on, no?
And then someone came up and said, "Would you leave that other band on? You're shite." Oh, that was good.
But the one thing about it, Paddy, we had money on a Monday and Tuesday when nobody else had money.
here when you
That was the thing about it. It was great crack.
Things are different, you know. Things are different in those days.
Ah, yeah, but
Oh, Sean has something here. What's this? Spotted in Asia.
Spotted in Asia.
An Irish, what is it? An Irish
Paddy,
masseur
hold on.
parlour,
An
is
Irish
it?
massage.
Yeah, masseuse. I used to be a massage boy years ago. Oh, that was a message boy.
Spotted in Asia. Very good.
Yeah, there was an Irish massage. What would that be?
An Irish massage.
Yeah, we just looking at a photograph here. Spotted in Asia, an Irish massage parlour.
Is there a photograph attached to that?
but that would
caption
be
there?
House of Ill Repute, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be. It'd be
No,
Irish.
wouldn't
It'd
it?
be
Yeah.
called Re-Rog Roll Ball, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of roll of ball, yeah.
I remember one time, yes, when you're talking about massages here, I remember myself and Kitty were over in, I won't say where it was. It's in
Asia.
No, it wasn't Asia. No, it wasn't Asia. No, it wasn't Asia. I was in California. I tell you the truth, it was on Venice Beach in California. But it was a part of the beach that was allocated to ladies would come on and you were out there sunbathing and they would say, "Would you like a massage?" Now this had to be cordoned off, say maybe 20 yards square, you know. And I didn't know about this, but I had a trouble with me back. And Kitty says, "There's a sign there saying that, you know, you can have if you're having trouble with your back, you can get a massage." $50, right?
Yeah.
Jeez, if it cures me, it's not grand, you know. But anyway, this lovely little Filipino, am I allowed to say this? Yeah.
Yeah.
This lovely little Filipino came on the scene, and Kitty says, "She's one of the ones that, you know." But anyway, I said, "I'll go ahead." So she started, as usual, on the back and everything else, and next thing, I think she went down to the maker's name down. But one of the policemen came down the scene and took her away. It was illegal, but they were just getting the opportunity.
And did you get your $50?
I give her the 50 for her, yeah.
What do we do? Tell you what.
But I tell you one thing, she was very close to the maker's name.
I haven't had a pen in my bag since.
But
My front's killing me.
in Fungarola, place like that, all these wee Chinese are going around. They're all very small, petite and small, and they give you the massage, and you say, "How much is it?" Like you, the back, my back trouble, and she'd be there and she'd be battling the shite out of you, know, and you'd be there, and you know, it depends. If you give her the money first, she'd only do about 5 minutes, and then. You know, the next thing I'm shy.
But the one was doing me. She had the clock with her, and said for half an hour. She was there for half an hour. But then when alarm went off, that was it. You couldn't say to her, "I'd like to go on a wee bit." No, over. Game is over.
So you seen a little Filipino girl with an alarm clock.
Don't talk to her.
Don't talk to her. But I'd love to find out what that Irish masseur or Irish massage.
Yeah, massage.
Probably as you walk in, you get a kick in the bollocks. And that's
But there's some people that are brilliant at telling jokes. Like you two guys are good at it. I cannot.
No, I'm not a good hand at
Oh, I couldn't. I always get flustered and everything else.
what
and say the wrong
I-
things and everything.
what I love about is people telling jokes is, especially some people they're laughing before they tell you.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that famous. Oh, see, I heard it before. It was brilliant.
Big O.
Yeah.
Big O tells you all the jokes before he goes on stage, and you go and
Yeah,
say
then
it
he
once
tells us
again.
But I mean, just the normal people, and when they get to the punchline, they fly past it. You know, the ones, "Oh yeah, he fell on the wall," and then walks away. It's not a good one. yeah. But you get people like that. But anytime I'm going down to town, I always be stopped by someone. I heard a great one, and they're telling it. Now,
yeah,
I've heard them a million times, but it's just to remind you again what it's all about.
Nicky Larkin or the Martian.
No,
He
Mickey
passed
was-
a while back there. Mickey be always telling you a joke, and he'd laugh at himself before he'd be breaking his book. You know,
Did you think that
You know
was
who's
good?
great? You know who's great at that now, too, Paddy? Thomas O'Hagan.
Thomas tells you, yeah. Thomas tells you a joke and that flies past you. But every time you're walking through boys, he's one for you. What did he say? He was telling me a joke.
Oh, he's very good.
Oh
at it,
yeah,
you know.
why has Ken and Bobby? Why have they no children? Because Ken was in another box. Just silly little things like that.
That's just for you, Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas. But some great jokes about. I think that I used to. People always ask me, how do you tell so many jokes? If somebody, I don't know what it is about my brain. If we're talking, even if you're talking serious, I'm thinking of something funny in my head. I don't know why it
it's good.
happens.
That's good, but that's
I don't know why it happens.
So you're a happy person, Paddy.
I'm not really. No.
Contrary to what we're doing.
Contrary. I mean, if you met my missus now, she's he's not like that at home. Grumpy.
Do you knock it on well about no?
Oh, we've nothing in common. But,
No, I would tell you, I was telling Paddy that we grandchild had to be taken up to Temple Street Hospital this evening for a wee procedure, nothing serious.
Oh.
But she had to go away early this morning. So myself and Kelly had to go up to Marmount to babysit, not to babysit, but take the wee fella to school. But that was my job this morning. So she had an appointment at 7 o'clock in Temple Street. No, it was an appointment at 8 o'clock. And she got a phone call last night because we come up for 7. So that would leave me going up there at 5 o'clock this morning to let her away and end away, take her up. But that was all right anyway. She was away and he brought Tom to school in Blackrock. That was grand. So I came home about, what time? 9 o'clock. Say 9:45. And I put on YouTube on the telly.
yeah.
And I saw the loveliest concert of Johnny Mathis. What it was a kind of it was live on stage, full piece orchestra, and he was just brilliant. But he was the MC was he announced that anybody could ring in from all over America with requests from the sing.
Yeah,
And he must have sent about 30 songs.
lovely singer,
He had me just fucking mesmerized.
Yeah,
You know, brilliant.
very
That was
talented man.
1998 now.
Yeah,
And he was my first person. He's the first LP I ever bought, double
is that
LP
right? Yeah,
of Johnny Mathis.
What was yours?
mine was the Searchers, I think, or something like that.
We had no record player.
No, Searchers, was it?
Oh, that was Paddy. You wanted the Flintstones with the duck.
We had one. We'd be father. He used to sing to us, especially when a few drinks.
Jim Ryan used to do the show there of a Sunday.
Yeah,
And Jim be sitting there, if you feel like singing, do sing an Irish song. What was the name of the programme?
I tell you what,
It was a sponsored program, Waltons, yeah. And that's the
Oh.
musical place in Dublin. They had their sponsored show for 15
yeah.
minutes. If you feel like singing, I have all those on. Somebody sent me those on CD. The sponsored programs,
Yeah.
and they would never play. We'd say Emco had 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, the DJ trying in as many songs as he could, and he'd be only playing clips of the whole lot.
Yes. But I know the Waltons reminded me of. It was a Saturday about 2 o'clock. And you're nearly afraid to ask your father for a penny or your mother to go to the pictures. And the Waltons would all before. My father would always say he'd listen to it because he's a music man. And when he would hear the Waltons, it'd be a good form. Now's the time to be in for the penny.
But that's the way it was. But I seen something on Facebook there from a friend of mine in America, and she's put up, she says, do you remember the days when you rang into a radio station and the DJ or the presenter played your request? You know, they mustn't listen to us, do they? Know?
Well, there's.
I'm on this is the vapor room.
Yeah, but there was never anyone answering phones in those American programs you're talking about, is it? Yeah, there was no one there like receptionist answering the phones. The DJ took the phone call.
Yeah.
You know, the phone would be ringing or be just a wee red flashing.
Oh yeah, he'd
pick it
pick it
up.
up.
Yeah,
I
okay.
know they're sending emails and
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
it comes in every. But we were talking there about cinemas years ago. Like there was the one in St. Nicholas Hall in the afternoon, and then the late one at night. It was, what was it, Fopins in the afternoon and 1 and 9 at night.
And it was definitely a fourpence, a threepenny bit and a penny.
Yeah.
What was the name of the film up here in Park Street? The picture in Park Street.
Oh, in Oriel, isn't it the Flames of Araby or something?
Some wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
something to do.
And I seen somebody put up a poster from the Oriel Picture House. See that on Facebook?
Yeah, down
Yeah,
Market
you know,
Street.
great.
I must tell you a funny story about Park Street Cinema. It takes in Paddy's mother as well. There was a fella, when the brother of a fella who lived in town here, and at that time outside the picture house in Park Street was always a cardboard cutout of, say, of Clark Gable or somebody, you know. And this fella I'm talking about, you know, would always, say Marilyn Monroe would be up, you know, out there, and he'd be looking at Marilyn Monroe and, oh, Jesus, and, you know, grilling over her, you know, and your mother would call him the cardboard lover.
Yeah, it's a great name. Right?
Oh, here he comes to the cardboard lover, look.
Oh, what's the other one? Dripping Jaws.
Lantern Jaws.
Lantern Jaws, yeah.
But do you remember, like, even I remember St. Nicholas' Hall or the Magnet. Yeah, Lantern Jaws. That's fellas with hanging faces. But to be two lads down bubble. But I remember, like, we say the Magnet when the double seats and all that. But do you remember sitting in the Magnet with your legs over the front seat in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden then someone would come down. I won't mention any name. And the flashlight. Get your feet off that. You know, yeah, and you would. But I remember...
Remember Shamey and the Nicholas?
yeah. We were at...
He'd no neck, eh? Sure,
yeah,
I think you have a better one,
Yeah.
we were at the Magnet one night.
hung low.
Yeah.
He'd
And
be coming at you at an angle.
we were at the Magnet one night, and we were sitting there, of course, with a few girls in the arm round, and there was a guy stretched all over the seats on the other row. I remember the ushers coming down and flashing lights. It says, "Move your feet." And you go, "Move your feet." And they went up and told us, "This fella must be stoned. There's something wrong with him." He says, "Get the guards, we get him out." And the guard came in and went down. Of course, the guards came in that time. He says, pushed him. He says, "Hey, you." And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "Never mind this, get your feet off." "Yeah." He says, "Get your feet off this." "Yeah." He said, "Where'd you come from?" He said, "The fucking balcony."
There was a man in the Adelphi ballroom. This is true. He thought he was Batman. He took off.
What's in the balcony?
Yeah, we won't mention any names.
Do we know him?
No, we know him well. Adam West.
He took off. You know.
Oh, there was great things from the dance. You know, you walk up and say, "Are you dancing?" No, it's just the way I'm standing.
Well, I'll tell you a good one, Paddy. I was only starting to go to the Adelphi at the time. And this girl,
Were you still in
I
your
was
short
buying her a
shorts?
mineral, right? Now, so I went up to the Philly was a band behind the bar. Philly, I can't think of his name. Philly Hughes. And Philly was there, and I got 2 bottles of orange. You remember what minerals you got? I went on my hand about no 2 shillings, fucking no, gone.
Happened me too as well.
You know,
They were
bang,
as good
and I tried
trousers.
everywhere.
They were as good
And
trousers.
Philly says, go ahead. There was only focus for a minute or something, wasn't it? Something like that. But he'd go ahead. But I was all embarrassed, you know. So didn't I find it? It fell down the fucking leg, into the line of the pocket. That's
Into your turnips.
into the, yeah. Me long johns.
Oh, there was things like that many a time. You know,
I can tell you funny about changing your pocket. When I got a wee job somewhere in town and home, doing your mother with the money, with the wages, you know, whatever it was, only about 15 or 16 shillings. But she always gave me a half a crown, right? Always a Saturday night for the chips and Tommy Torley's.
Yeah.
Quit.
But anyway, we're going to Mass anyway, and I have the half a crown in my pocket and a few bits of odd change as well. And you know, that time you were walking, you were seen putting money on the plate. It was great. You know,
Yeah.
But I put the half a crown on the plate. They thought it was a penny.
Don't believe you.
And when I came out, there was, I think there was 2 pennies in my
Jesus.
pocket and no half crown. You couldn't go back in and say, you know, I want money out of that, you know. give me the change for half a crown. Take 6pence out of it or something. No.
Well, I tell you,
desperate.
I remember the priest in Knockbridge. Well, this is when I'd be serving mass, you know.
But you're a server, Joe.
Yeah.
Oh,
But anyhow,
Which we read.
that's what see me hair's powers in the centre. You know why that is, don't you? That's the boy. Come here. Anyhow, you'd be going around and you'd have the thing, and the priest would be saying with a book, right? And he'd fucking say to you, right, Sean McEnany, £1. Paddy McEnany, 2 and 6. He dropped the tone of the voice.
Yeah,
fucking.
So you'd know then.
Yeah.
You know you're in trouble.
You know, and anyway, but everybody. Once it was £1, £1, and then 10 shillings, and then 2 shillings, 2 and 6. You know,
I love it.
what would you call that?
Hatred.
There's a word for that. I can't think of the name of it.
Throwing your voice anyway.
Extortion, isn't it? Extortion. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Oh,
I
yeah.
know what it is. I remember there was in my day, of course, there was you had to go to 9 mass in school, you know.
Yeah.
And we used to meet the boys of a Sunday evening. Say, well, what colour? You know, you had to have the colour of the vestments. You know, and you go in the next year at mass, because it was all in Latin at that time.
That's right. Yeah.
And they'd say, "Oh, you were at 9 mass." I was, sir. What colour was the priest wearing? Purple. Sit down. You know, one of the boys wasn't at mass one Sunday, and I met him. I said, "Were you at mass on Sunday?" I was, yeah. What colour were they? They were green. They weren't. They were red. I was killed.
I don't believe it.
6 in each hand.
Oh, that was, yeah.
Unbelievable, because I didn't know the colour.
Tell you one thing, De La Salle boy, there were some queer boys and a teacher.
Oh,
And they were all frustrated, Paddy.
Oh, yeah.
Sean,
Yeah,
this
I
is
was
no
at
lie.
Dallas House, yeah.
They were upstairs, and I know they were fucking choking
Yeah.
the bishop,
Yeah.
fucking every night,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
that's why they have double
they'd
chins.
be in bed, up in their bedroom at 9 o'clock at night. Now, I
Yeah.
remember brother, and he was he was kind of fucking bit nutty, you know, to tell you the truth. He wrote this, he read this book, Leo, what was it name? And the Detectives, right? And
Elvis Costello.
no, but he was going around reading this to us. It was nothing to do with a fucking lessons at all. He was carried away with it. Man was fucking mad.
Well, I remember.
But you can't blame him because
Yeah.
he was. You don't know yourself.
Now, I remember now, at the moment,
Mm.
we have to send our condolences to Jerry Foran's family,
Oh yeah,
because Jerry passed away.
another fucking fine entertainer.
Another fine entertainer.
Yeah,
But
singer
I-
songwriter. He wrote some lovely books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have one at home. I put 2 of them at home. But I remember we were in between teachers. They couldn't get a teacher to teach us. And do you remember Jerry Bourne from the Castown Road?
Yeah.
Jerry was helping out, and he'd go in and back. And we'd be sitting there on our own and talking shite. And then this fella came in, and he sat down. He says, "Hello," and we said, "Hello." You know, and teachers that time, you're waiting for a cane to come out,
that's
or
right.
a leg of a table or something. And he sat down and he says, "I'm going to read you a story." And he read stories the whole day. And I said, "My God Almighty!" He says, "This is great." He was in the next day, and he says, "Can anybody sing?" And I was like, "Paddy McCann." He says, No, I heard him." He says, and he said, "You know who that gentleman was? You would all know him as Ray Stone."
No, Ray McDonald.
Ray McDonald. And he showed us that photograph of the Paragon 7. He says, "Do you know anyone in that photograph?" And everyone said Jerry Foran. He says, "Do you know anyone else?" He says, "No." He says, "That's me." And I remember when Ray Stone was on Radio Carousel, and then he went on to LMFM. I met him. We were doing a gig one night, and I just standing there talking. I said, "Do you remember you teaching De La Salle?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Was your young fella that?" I says, "No, it was me." He nearly died, honestly. You know, it was the best.
And what was you just standing in as a teacher?
He just stood in as a teacher.
Oh yeah.
I stood in the teacher in the DKIT.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that? No. See that? You all think that. And I was in a movie.
We always thought you were common.
Just not Alvaro. Yeah. I was in a movie
That's
too.
right.
Some Other Son. We were the band playing in the pub.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that bit of that, Paddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember.
You got a check for that, didn't you?
We did. We got a check. Yeah, but no, I remember I remember the contract. I think the contract's still at home, that we could be called for a part any time. But they never rang us.
When you're talking about Ray Stone on Radio Carousel, was it you guys went into the talent competition and you won it and you didn't get the prize or something?
No. What happened was, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to mention any names in this, but
I think you know it was out in Castleton Road.
No, it was on. Fairways Hotel.
Oh, was
It was on a Tuesday night. There was a
chicken in the basket, was it?
no, it was a talent contest
chicken
on
in the
one night.
rough.
And myself and I brought out the Mary Maxman then, done it. And Lord rest me, mother were all there. We got to the final anyway. And there's a girl, a well-known entertainer, was one of the judges who I knew very well. And anyway, the whole lot was over. And I met her, and she gave me a kiss. She says, "Oh, he's walked away with it." So that was grand. We were sitting waiting to be called. And what was on it was a recording contract, as in you could do an album and that's it. Try and sell it yourself. So we thought, brilliant. And then the gentleman got up and he mentioned in second place was us. We got 2 portable televisions, black and white.
We just did get them. I thought you didn't get them.
No, we got them eventually, but then I sold it. I said it was black. It was no good. You could like at that time you put in the area.
Jonesboro job.
Yeah, they were terrible, you know. But that's the way it was, and it was fixed. And I know the lady that won it. I still see her every so often. I says, "Did you get it?" And she says, "No." So she didn't get the contract.
Jesus.
Who was running this?
Radio Carousel.
Well, I was. Do you remember Opportunity Knocks?
I remember Opportunity.
I was an
Knocks.
Opportunity Knocks. Oh, band. Well, there was a girl who used to follow us around, and she put it in the form and put us in for Opportunity Knocks. We were called New Revival. Well, yeah, it was.
This is Hughie Green.
This is Hughie Green. Now, Hughie Green, behind the scene, hadn't a breath. He did a machine, you know, we. And then he could be grand. But Monkhouse, we leave it at Monkhouse.
Yeah, we say, leave it at Monkhouse.
Monkhouse was our road manager at the time. But he decided he'd be Hughie's. He couldn't do enough with Hughie. He was doing. And yeah, man,
Hughie, he got Hughie.
He got in Hughie's way because there was another English guy there controlling the microphones and stuff like that, you know. And he next to see Jim being pegged at the door. I don't know who was Hughie Green. I mean, just see him coming. Monkhouse, sorry.
Yeah, Monkhouse, Jim Monkhouse. But there was. No. But there was like things like that. I was on television.
He was an awful liar.
A couple of shows.
I remember when I was playing at a gig. You remember this, Paddy? And Daddy McCabe was the drummer. Do you remember Daddy from Culhane Street? He's living in Canada now. Yeah. And anyhow, Daddy was playing football, and fucking hurted himself. Couldn't come to play drums that night. It was Sammy Collins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he always told me to play drums as a freshman. So he said, "Oh, we're not so bad. The kit here." And Jim sat in there and just help out with him. What he had it.
He broke his wrist.
He broke his wrist. He couldn't play. He never played. He was that big of a liar, boy.
He was unbelievable. He was serious.
Wasn't he?
Yeah. I remember there was a competition of liars, and one fella says, "The Golden Gate Bridge, I jumped off it, into the river, swam up to the side and got out. And all the crowd are cheering. The other fella says, what about that? He says, what about it? I seen him." Right, we got a topic now.
This is, do you know those Ring doorbells?
Yes.
Press the thing and shows the camera. This is their new invention here.
So what?
Hold on, you'll have to hold it yourself.
This is it's a floating doorbell.
Yeah, with a camera on it.
With a camera. So when you ring the doorbell, it comes.
No, this thing is in your house and it's going to monitor your house.
All right, okay.
Oh.
This thing's going to be flying inside your home with a camera on it.
That's interesting.
Oh, it is a new thing. It's like a hover.
Yeah.
Like a drone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a drone, and it goes around. It keeps next in your house. I think all the fares would break up now, wouldn't it? And if you're busting for a shit, you may forget about it. You know, will you get away? You know, imagine that. It's a floating thing with a camera that goes around. Yeah.
I'll show it on the video on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll show it on the video, but it is unbelievable. It goes around your house and it keeps your house safe and all that.
Would you have one?
No, I wouldn't have one. Because you could be sitting there, you know, big fart and all that. And then you see, you know what would happen? That'd take over your life. That'd be, you know, you'd be laying in bed and all of a sudden you get.
But it only activates when the doorbell rings. Is that right?
It's a constant thing in your house.
Oh, is that right?
So when you leave the house, this thing activates and it's just flying around.
Yeah, but imagine that in your home, and you know the Hoover that goes round on its own.
Yeah.
And then the lawnmower and they go, no.
Tripping over everything.
Oh, it's just that there's so many. Imagine that, but
Right, and then here's another one.
But imagine you look back years and years ago, people have seen the likes of a drone or these lawnmower things. Like they think there was that's magic, you know.
oh,
Yeah.
so even I was talking to a lady on the bus the other day, and they were talking about it raining, you know, and you had to go down, take the clothes in if it's raining, and now they put it into these dryers. I have one myself. It's one there's no tubes in it.
Yeah.
It condenses all and everything. And there was none of that nowadays. And then a fella behind me said, someone mentioned a mangle. He says, I hated mangles. Hated them. I said, why? He says, there used to be the glass buttons. And when my mother mangled them, we'd be going to a dance and no buttons. We all broke. I says, yeah. He says, oh, kids wouldn't know any difference. And in our day, we used to pick spuds. He says, nowadays, they wouldn't even pick them up the plate.
Right, here's another one.
We've got another one here.
Alright, so watch this guy.
I actually seen this one. A guy who puts a ladder up a wall, very, very, in an awful, you'll see it now on the video, it's in an awful angle, and he goes up to do something. Instead of putting the ladder up straight and only going up a wee bit. And he fell. But, Joe, if you were going up a ladder, would you have someone down the bottom holding it?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
Sean, would you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I would-
Well, I
Number one, I wouldn't go up to that.
I wouldn't go. Right. Oh, I get it hard to go upstairs.
No, but
Would you walk under a ladder?
no.
Why?
Well,
You're
I
are you
would say no.
superstitious?
no,
I would.
I mean, I probably am. It's just
And
something.
I wouldn't think you're superstitious because everybody else fucking does it.
I'd be afraid
Yeah.
of someone falling down on top of you
Yeah,
or something.
but-
You know,
But right, if
we
you
say, we just say there was someone up there and they were putting bricks or doing something like that, or a hammer or something come forward, and you bang on the skull on the nose.
yeah, right,
Bang.
we talk about superstitions. One is I remember, don't put them new shoes on the table.
That's right.
Is that a superstition? Do you know any other superstition?
Yeah, putting an umbrella up in a house.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, don't look at a new moon through the window glass. Yeah,
Right.
if you're in the house and you see the new moon, don't look through the glass. You have to go outside and look at it.
Never knew that. Never heard
Never
of it.
knew that one.
No.
How do you know if it's new?
Because
I'll
it's
tell you
big.
on the calendar.
It'll say on the calendar.
Well, they used to say years ago, turn your money in your pocket and you see a new moon. You remember that? You turn your money in your
I
pocket.
remember you could peel an orange in your pocket. You miserable. Yeah.
There's one too. There's one. I love this one. On New Year's Eve, at 12 o'clock, you open the front door, you open the back door, so let the old one out and the new one in.
Yeah.
I remember that well. My father used to say, "You shut that fucking kid."
But you remember, you have to, the eldest in the house or the dark in the house carry the coal in the front door. The door was open, bring in
Bring
the
the
luck.
coal, yeah,
for it.
yeah, yeah.
Like there was some.
Oh, that's a,
Oh,
well, I know a man that he would not leave the house of a Good Friday or a Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah, a lot of people
Well,
were.
a lot of
Not he wouldn't, even if he was in to buy a car,
That's right. Yeah, remember.
he wouldn't.
Wouldn't
If
leave
there was
the
a 1 or a 3 in it, he wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
He said, "Take that back." Oh,
Isn't it? Yeah.
things like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know.
And then you have the magpies.
That's right. Yeah.
What is the poem? of?
1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for girl, 4 for boy.
I can tell you a funny story about
What
my.
about 5 for?
Huh?
You only said 4.
That's all we know, Paddy.
That's all we.
There's 7 magpies. It's 1 for sorrow,
2
2
for
for joy, 3
3
for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret.
Oh, never to be told.
told.
But I tell you,
I'm not superstitious.
No. But a funny
How come
story. Just a true funny story. We were down in myself and that man over there, Mickey T, and the photograph there. We're down cycling. And my brother Patsy, Lord rest him, and Flyer Bagley were down and we cycling around Leitrim and Sligo.
Was Mickey with us?
Who?
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey,
I
Mickey
give-
and I were
Yeah, I
traveled.
give Sean, that is my father-in-law who's no
Father-in-law,
longer with us. I give Sean photographs.
Oh, we
Instead.
cycled around on bikes and around Leitrim, Roscommon and Sligo and Mayo.
Fair play, yeah.
Oh,
That's nice, yeah.
And anyway, we're down, and we took the 2 boys with us, Patsy and Malachy Bagley, myself and Mickey, T, and the 2 boys. And my Kitty's, the wife's brother-in-law has a holiday home down in Leitrim, fabulous place. It was kind of an old farmhouse, but it was a massive old Irish stone and everything else. Beautiful place. But anyway, I was in charge of everything. And lads, you're not supposed to. No smoking in this house. These people are non-smokers. And they'll be down here next week. And if they smell smoke, I'll be in trouble. Right? There's your room, and there's your room. And Mickey, Ted, and I were in the other room. So anyway, the boys will be washing their clothes anyway, especially their underwear, kind of cycling all that day. So anyway, my brother Patsy, he said he hung his underwear on the wall out the back, on the trees there. Sometimes you hang them on the trees. And I was the cook. I was cooking the dinner or the breakfast. And he says, hopefully, he says, there's somebody lifting my underwear, and I don't know. He said, that's the second time fucking happened here, and there's something going on here in this house, you know. And I know who it is, he says. I fucking know it is. It's them fucking crows and the magpies on that tree over there. Patsy, it couldn't be the fucking crows or the magpies that lift in your nose. How do you know? You know fucking everything. Because it wouldn't fit them.
There was a lad on Facebook that says, to the person that stole my wife's knickers off the line, I don't want the knickers, I just want the 10 pegs back. Oh.
That happened to you, Paddy, didn't it?
What?
Your knickers
What did you buy today?
I bought 6 Bush Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
Tall boys, how much would you drink a day?
Well, what day? Regular day, I don't know, maybe a couple beers, depends. Weekends, maybe, 5 beer. 2 drinks a week.
What do you think of that?
Well, that's just not feasible, not in this country. Well, come on, man, 2 drinks a week, what's that gonna do for you? I mean, that doesn't even get you through a day. A reasonable amount, if you're at home, you should be able to have like 4 beer. That's just 2 more. I mean, I'll have 6, but 4 is a fair number. But there shouldn't even be guidelines anyway. Why are you going to tell me how much I can drink at home?
Well, I guess the idea is, would you be concerned that you're at a higher health risk if you're drinking too much?
No. That's the main point here is, why are they telling me what I can drink at home? What, can I have 2 liters of pop? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Well, what's more healthy, 4 beers or 2 liters of Coca-Cola? Do the math.
So I'm guessing that this information about the new guidelines isn't going to change your life.
It's heartbreaking, and I can't even believe it. Rock and roll! Oh, wait a minute. You can't handle the tooth.
Can't handle the tooth. Listen, what about? Do you drink beer?
Yeah.
Do you drink it at home?
I'd be a Guinness man.
At home?
Very little, no.
No. About how many pints would you drink a night if you were out?
Oh, I'd be a couple. About 3.
3. And if you're out for the weekend, we see you're out here of a Saturday.
I wouldn't be a big Guinness. Compared to years ago, it wouldn't be nowadays, no.
So the guy we seen on the video there, he said that two drinks a week. Would you be for that or against it?
I'd be for that, yeah.
2 barrels.
2 barrels. If a law came in that said you're only allowed 2 drinks a week, how would you feel?
I cut my throat.
Well, to be honest with you, your body would think you got your throat. Sean, if there was a law out that you were only allowed 2 drinks a week.
I know fucking business, man. No, I tell you, no, I do. I like a pint of Guinness. I do. I like a pint of Guinness. How many would I drink in a night? Maybe 4.
4, you see, but that's...
Well, 4 half ones.
Yeah, but that's...
I didn't tell you about the half ones. You didn't ask me about half ones.
No, I said... But you usually, well, if you haven't...
So we are seasoned drinkers.
I know, every season. But, I don't drink at the moment. Well, at the moment, they say, but...
But you did.
I did. The last drink that I had was 36 years ago.
Lovely.
And I think the pint was only... I know it was 50 pence
because
in Uri.
You heard of putting it up to 2 pence. That's where you stopped drinking.
Yeah, no, it was 50 pence in Uri. I think it was 68 here in the south for a pint. And the people were complaining. Myself and the brother were playing in Uri. And the bus, used to run a bus down to Heroes just so they got 50 pence a pint. And they come home stoned. They might have only saved about 20-something pence. You know,
it was a fact of getting it. It was like years ago when people went up to Falk Hill on Good Friday, Falk Hill and Cross Midland, and when you go up there, everyone from Dundalk was above and below.
Well, I can tell you.
Pubs are closed here.
When I walked in Echo, I never went out of Good Friday. But when we walked in Echo, all the boys that would finish at 3:00, they all head for the Forge in Falk Hill. And I can tell you, it was absolutely chock-a-block.
I remember.
All the locals used to leave.
Yeah, I remember someone asked me, "Are you going to Forge in Falk Hill?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Bring your guitar, will you?" I remember that, and I remember like things have changed. We were talking about the church and all that, but on a Good Friday, there was always fish, and at 3:00 on a Good Friday, you stop for the crucifixion. Everywhere closed.
That's right.
An hour.
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
From 2 to 4, remember?
Yeah. You know, and then you went back and not a bother. You had a few drinks in you, but you know.
But a lot of people said that they would prefer Easter than Christmas.
Yeah.
Because when you're at Easter, you tend to go off it for not the whole of Lent, but maybe the last week, Holy Week, and then on Easter Sunday you dressed up. There's a lovely photograph of my father, Paddy's father, and there was 5 brothers in it. And they were obviously dressed of an Easter Sunday, and they were all in a row on handmaddies there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're not there anymore.
It's the Green Mountain now.
Is it Green?
Yeah.
But anyway, but across the road, and this was across.
Oh,
the road.
there was 2 handreadies, wasn't it?
Because there was always a piano in Unis. There was no piano over in the Green Mountain. So my father would see the piano show. Jesus,
that was it.
But it was a lovely photograph of the 5 boys standing all dressed up on a line in Hanratty's yard, and they just loved that Easter. Mickey Tit, I'd rather have Easter than Christmas.
Lent. I know Lent is starting shortly. Did you ever go off the drink for Lent? You know, did you ever say, "Well,
I done a week.
I did.
Done a week.
No, I done the whole 7 weeks.
Well, can I tell you something? I worked with a man. There was a heavy woodbine smoker, and maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 pints a night. And every Lent, he would quit the cigarettes and the thing, and the wallet boy would be bulging. And that's Easter Saturday. He would down to Connevy's here. Remember Connevy's pub? Into Connevy's, and the pints and the smoke. The same Sunday morning, good Sunday morning. And he used to do them at home in the pan. That's where he warmed it. They're up in the pan. But he just.
Oh yeah, the people like that, like
there was no microwaves then. I remember my father coming in and heating up stew in the pan, frying stew.
There was a lovely story too about Billy Coleman, Lord rest him, the photographer in Duffy. The boys would be, my father would be playing maybe Unis of a Saturday night. So Billy Coleman and the boys, and our uncles would be there, and so they would sing a song with me, Mighty, and we all end up in Katie's house, and Katie had a packet, no fridges that time. She had a packet of sausages, a dozen sausages in wherever she had them in the pantry. And Billy Coleman,
Scullery, Sean.
Scullery, yeah. Billy Coleman was given the job of cooking up these sausages on the range, you know. And Billy said, I've been wondering why. And Katie was fed up, I'm not cooking nothing for you. Said, cook it yourself. And Billy put the sausages on the pan. And he says, they're not cooking. Hey boys, these sausages are not cooking. That's because the fucking skins on them, you see.
That's right, you had to take the skins off.
Dollies,
You had to de-skin them. Peeled them in there. Oh God, jeez, I remember that.
Another time too, when the boys would be of a Monday night, they all went down to the Met down in the Lisdown. It was Egan's that time, wasn't it? It was before it was called the Lisdown. I was Lisdown, but John Egan had it. But anyway, the boys would be counting the money. What have you left from the night before? Like, well, I have 6pence, and now you've got this, and I've got that. This. Maybe with 5 or 6, whatever it was. Maybe a pound or maybe 2 shillings. Maybe it could be 6 of them, So they'd head up. Instead of going to the Lisdown Arms, I went down to Una Hanratty's. And my father would play the piano. So everybody got 3 stouts, or maybe 4 stouts, 4 bottles of stout. And Una would put up 2 rounds. So then once the boys got in, with the few pound they had,
entry fee,
make the boys stay. Yeah. So I'll put up 2 rounds.
Well,
that's the way it worked.
That was on the left hand, on
Not Owen Belton side.
But there was a Henry's the far side.
There was 2 Henrys.
Yeah. But Una, I remember being in Una's pub. My brother-in-law used to drink in there.
Yeah, well, I remember Sean's father playing in Enda McGuill's.
I remember
upstairs.
that. Your father
And
playing
I
there,
remember
yeah.
him up in the corner at the piano, and at the time there's a song that always sticks in my mind was we were all at the movie Love Story with Ryan O'Neill and Andy McGraw.
Oh, well played,
And,
Paddy. You remember the names.
I'll be on a quiz team. But I remember Andy Williams singing the song, and I thought it was fantastic. And still to this day, I love that song. I remember getting into Enders because we were all young that time, you know, but they're the only ones in Dundalk that had a toasted sandwich.
Aye, that's true.
You know,
yeah,
and it was just unbelievable. And we had it there on a pint of McArdle's. And I said to Barney, Sean's father, you don't know Love Story. And like that, he played a whole lot of it. You know, and I said, Jesus, that's
Lovely piece of
unreal.
music. Lovely piece
Oh,
of music.
he was a genius.
He says to me one day, he said to the family one day, we're all in the house, and my mother said to me, you know, you remember Kathleen Duffy, my mother said, yeah. I think Kathleen was home that time. She was living in Dublin. But anyway, my father said to me, I'm thinking of buying an electric organ, you know. So he showed me a brochure, you know. And he was retired. He worked in the building all his life to his detriment, because that's what happened. He had a bad chest. But anyway, says, Daddy, I said, if you want to buy an organ, you buy it, you know. And he bought the organ. I took it into McWill's, and that's what you heard him playing.
Yeah.
Lovely player, wasn't he?
You remember Paddy Hamills? Remember Paddy?
Yeah.
Another great pub.
Paddy used to play in Paddy Hamills as well, and that's when Kathleen came over with her husband that time, Frank Griffin.
Frank
Griffin, yeah. Thanks, Joe. And we all met, Josie and Kathleen, me mother and me Molly, and there was a sing-song in it by the Beat the Band. Absolutely.
And
anybody could.
Yeah, and I know, I think I give you a copy of it. We have a tape.
I have a tape.
And Josie's the only one left, is it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Josie's the only one.
Josie's the only one that's left.
And how is she doing? I haven't.
She's great, Joe. She's just terrific. Now, we were out there one day with myself and all last year went out just to see how she was. But last year, I think, of course, the tart was made on the table. The bacon was taken.
Can't beat
out.
it, yeah.
Oh, you
Just
deadly
stuff.
at it.
Yeah.
Oh, will you stop? And anyway, we're going to wrap it up now because I think we've gone past our time. But
doesn't time play when you're enjoying yourself?
time flies. It's
you're
great.
having a great laugh there.
It's great. It's great to be able to reminisce about years ago. You know,
Yeah.
like. And
I can tell you one thing, Paddy. There's more stories to come. Yeah.
Oh, it's
we're only starting to wind
more.
up now.
We'd like to wish Alvaro the very best.
Oh, yeah, of course.
and the camera crew as well. but
On the whole, it can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
It can be tough on the
I
whole.
don't know.
on the whole.
I think they're doing a new movie, The Black Hole.
Of course.
But I think it is.
The valley, Black
One
Hole, the
Flew
valley.
Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I forgot him. But I hope he's well anyway.
Yeah, speedy
I'm sure
recovery.
he'll be here at the next Salvation
Well,
show.
will,
I mean,
We
at
want
the
to thank
next
Joe
Salvation
for coming
Army.
in, at very short notice. We
Joe,
asked
you
him
some
3
stories.
weeks
Well
ago.
done, well done. Yeah. It's not easy.
But
but we
it's
got
not
through
easy.
it.
But I want to thank Chris as well. Chris is our cameraman here tonight and sound engineer. And I hope you will join us again. I hope this brings back a few memories. If you have memories, do let us know.
Very important. That's very important.
Important. No, I feel important.
And follow us on YouTube.
Yeah, you can follow us on YouTube and Spotify, anywhere.
If
And,
you want us to edit any bad language, we can do that for you as well.
and if you feel that there's something you want to talk about, we'll talk about it. We'll look into it. There will be a few videos you'll see of what we're talking about. So on behalf of myself, Paddy Mac, goodbye.
And Sean McEnany, goodbye.
And Joe Duffy, goodbye.
And from Chris, that's a wrap.